All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are embarking on a deep dive into the hidden biological forces that are literally shaping the quality of your life every single day. We're going to uncover what I like to call the invisible operating system running beneath the human experience, the delicate, powerful network connecting your mind, your nervous system, and your cells. But to really understand how these interconnected systems actually work, we have to start by looking at a massive, completely invisible epidemic.
Take a look at this staggering number. $635 billion. That's the estimated annual financial cost of chronic pain in the United States alone. It's a massive number, right? But we're not here to talk about economics. We are here to talk about the profound biological mystery occurring inside millions of bodies every single day. We have to ask, what is actually happening in the human nervous system that traps people in a seemingly endless cycle of suffering and fatigue?
Part 1. The brain's hidden pain network, anatomy of a signal.
To solve this mystery, we really need to map out where our physical suffering actually lives. And to do that, I want to ask you to totally reconsider your baseline assumptions about physical injury. Think about it. When you hurt your back, where does the pain actually live? We tend to think it lives right there in the tissue, right? In the muscles or the joints. But what happens when weeks turn into months, the tissue fully heals, and yet the pain remains, often just as excruciating as day one? If the physical damage is completely gone, where's the pain coming from?
Well, consider this incredible insight from pain researchers. Pain does not exist until the brain says it does. Let that sink in. When you suffer an injury, specialized nerve cells called nociceptors send a signal up your spine to a relay station in your brain called the thalamus. But here's the catch. That signal isn't pain yet. It's literally just a signal of danger. It gets sent to the higher-order thinking and feeling parts of your brain, and your brain then decodes that signal. It acts like a giant volume knob. If you're stressed, exhausted, or anxious, your brain cranks that volume way up. So the pain isn't imaginary at all. It's a very real, physical response constructed entirely by your central nervous system. Which of course leads us to a fascinating question.
Section 2. Beyond the placebo effect, the science of attention.
Okay, so if the brain constructs the experience of pain, can we actively deconstruct it? Check out this astonishing discovery by neuroscientist Dr. Fadel Zaidan. In a rigorously controlled study using brain imaging, healthy participants underwent just 4 days of mindfulness meditation training. We're talking only 20 minutes a day. And when they were exposed to a painful stimulus, their pain unpleasantness dropped by 57%. That is a pharmaceutical-level drop in pain achieved purely through directed attention. It's mind-blowing. But how? How does a mental exercise change a core biological output so quickly?
For a long time, skeptics wondered if mindfulness was, just a placebo effect. But modern brain imaging proves they are mechanistically entirely different things. Placebo analgesia works by decreasing sensory processing. It essentially numbs the brain's reception of the signal. But mindfulness? It does the exact opposite. It creates higher-order cognitive activation. It doesn't numb the brain at all. It actively engages multiple neural mechanisms to completely restructure how you pay attention to the signal.
Which brings us to Section 3, Rewiring the Nervous System, the Hardware Update.
When we talk about directing our focus, we're not talking about some soft wellness concept. We're talking about physically rewiring the nervous system. I want you to vividly imagine these specific neural pathways lighting up inside an MRI scanner. When you use focused attention to modulate pain, the orbitofrontal cortex activates to actually reframe the context of the sensation. Then, the subgenual anterior cingulate cortex lights up to regulate your emotional fear response. And meanwhile, the thalamus actually deactivates, acting as a literal limbic gate to block those ascending danger signals from ever reaching the rest of the brain. You are actively building a brand new biological network.
But there's an even deeper layer to this. You might have heard of the default mode network, or the DMN. It's the part of your brain that fires up when your mind is wandering, when you're thinking about yourself, your past, or worrying about your future. It's essentially the brain's storyteller. Now in chronic pain, the DMN becomes hyperactive. It weaves the physical sensation of pain right into your personal identity. But through mindfulness, we actually see a deactivation of a key DMN node called the posterior cingulate cortex. And by deactivating this specific area, we stop integrating a physical sensation into a narrative of personal suffering. The pain stops being who you are and simply becomes something you are observing.
Section 4. The fibromyalgia central sensitization and getting stuck in survival mode.
So how does all this hidden brain architecture apply to severe systemic conditions like fibromyalgia? Well, fibromyalgia is widely recognized today as a disorder of central sensitization.
This is basically an ancient evolutionary survival mechanism that is completely turned against us in the modern world. Your body is beautifully designed to go into fight or flight mode when faced with danger, right? Your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, you become hypervigilant. But in chronic pain conditions, that danger signal just never turns off. The brain relentlessly amplifies these signals. The nervous system becomes entirely exhausted, creating this vicious, unending cycle of profound fatigue, severely disrupted sleep, and inevitably, even more pain. And here is where the clinical data really grounds our understanding. Look at the findings from this meta-analysis comparing mindfulness interventions against control groups for fibromyalgia patients. The data definitively shows that targeting this mind-body connection massively outperforms standard control groups when it comes to dialing down the nervous system's stress response. We see clinically meaningful improvements for a very specific reason. Sleep influences recovery, recovery influences the nervous system, and the nervous system directly regulates pain. It is all one interconnected system.
Section 5. Reversing the addiction cycle, treating the root cause. Here's the tragedy, though. What happens when modern medicine tries to solve this biological software issue with the wrong hardware solution? When a hypersensitized nervous system is treated primarily with highly addictive opioids, it triggers a catastrophic downward spiral. Over time, the brain becomes hyperreactive to drug-related cues, the craving, and simultaneously hyporeactive or completely desensitized to natural, healthy rewards. Things that used to bring immense joy like a deep social connection or just a beautiful sunset, they simply no longer register. The chronic pain and the opioid craving just mutually reinforce each other, demanding a completely new neuroscience-informed intervention to actually break the loop.
Enter mindfulness-oriented recovery enhancement, or the MORE protocol, developed by Dr. Eric Garland. Backed by over $90 million in federal research, I need you to know this isn't just a wellness habit. It is a highly targeted behavioral treatment, and it works in 3 very specific steps. First, mindfulness. Patients are actually taught to deconstruct aversive sensations into tiny subcomponents, so noticing heat or tightness or tingling, rather than this one monolithic block of pain. Second, reappraisal, regulating negative emotions and actively reframing adversity. And third, a truly vital step called savoring, intentionally focusing on pleasant, healthy experiences to restore the brain's natural reward processing. Doing these 3 things physically restructures the addicted and pained brain.
Let's bring it all together in our final section. Section 6. The interconnected biology of attention, the ultimate synthesis.
We're arriving at a pretty profound realization here. Just look at this rapidly escalating timeline of human healing. It's like a chain reaction. It all starts in milliseconds. The moment you direct your attention, you instantly shift your brain's cognitive processing. Within minutes, your autonomic nervous system receives that signal of safety, and you finally exit the fight or flight survival loop. Your heart rate slows down, your cortisol drops. Over weeks of this practice, through the absolute magic of neuroplasticity, your neural networks physically rewire themselves. And zoom out over years, this sustained reduction in systemic stress drastically limits chronic inflammation, directly altering your biological aging and longevity trajectory. Your attention regulates your nervous system, and your nervous system dictates your future health.
So if there is one crucial takeaway from this entire explainer, let it be this. Health is absolutely not a collection of isolated, separate habits. You don't have a sleep bucket and a stress bucket and a pain bucket. Health is the emergent result of countless interconnected biological processes occurring every single moment of every day. Managing where you place your attention is not just a soft wellness technique. It is the absolute most direct way you have to actively manage your fundamental biology.
We've looked at the brain imaging, we've seen the hard clinical data. Your mind and your body are part of the exact same continuous loop, an invisible operating system just waiting for your input. So I want to leave you with this final profound question to think about. If your attention has the literal biological power to rewire your nervous system, what will you choose to focus on today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this changes how you see your body and your future.